everyone. I am Damini, your host for today. And today I must say that I have a special guest with me, Advocate Kunal Sharma, who's a senior associate at Shantul Amarchand Mangaldas. We extend our gratitude to you, sir, for accepting our invitation on a very short notice and sparing your time with us. We welcome you, sir.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me with you.
Thank you so much, sir. So without taking your much time, I would just like to ask you to please introduce yourself to the audience. Please let them know, how is your college life, how all did it went, and how was the journey throughout?
I never thought of becoming an advocate in the first place. It was my father's advice, and I gave an entrance exam in the Department of Law, Burdwan University in West Bengal. It's near Calcutta. So I secured the rank and I got admitted. Initially, I was not happy with, I used to travel 2.5 hours in local train from my place to Burdwan and then back 2.5 hours. And during those days, I used to give private tuitions. So morning, I used to give tuitions. Then I used to get hold of a train, go there, come back and again give late night tuitions. So it was very tough that I can reach my home on time and start the classes because that was my source of income. So it was very quick. I had a good reputation before my professors. They are still in touch with me. Of course, very good relationship with my juniors as well as my seniors and my classmates. The final year was something which I thought of staying there. So I got hold of a private hostel and I stayed there. And the entire year I was in Burdwan and did my law. Just after passing law, I got a job in S. Jalan and Co. in Calcutta as a litigation lawyer. So I assisted senior lawyers in the firm in a PIL, which was against Victoria Memorial, which is a very known memorial there made by the Britishers. It was an environmental matter issue. I also handled a couple of other litigation matters in real estate and labor law matters. Then I got an opportunity with HDFC Limited. It's a housing finance company. I was interviewed only for responding to letters which used to come from the advocates of the borrowers. But then, I wanted to increase the presence of lawyers. People used to have an impression that, and it is still there in many companies and corporate houses, that lawyers or other professionals, they are just watchdogs. You just have to tell them what to do and they will do. But I tried my level best to increase the importance of what a lawyer can do. And yes, I got a very good mentor there in the form of my boss, as well as in the form of my very senior person who was in Mumbai. And they really helped me a lot. And I had a lot of good presence in HDFC Limited. Then I took a transfer to Jaipur in HDFC. And then to PNB Housing Finance in Delhi. I had really no idea about what Delhi land laws are, but that has been the best part of my life. Wherever I went, I have never known anything about the laws or what you have to apply there. And I just went with the flow. So I believe where your destiny takes you, it is just explore it. Take as life comes, because people would not want to leave their jobs or change their cities for many reasons. But I have been thankful to my parents because they have always supported me. You travel wherever you want to, do whatever you want to, and that really helps a lot. Though I am the only son to them, and I have two sisters, but there was no restriction at all from them. So I've traveled in different cities. I've worked in different cities. I've worked in Mumbai, Pune, when I was doing the internships in Pune. It was a legal process outsourcing firm in those days, 2007, when people never heard about these things. So I thought of exploring opportunities there as well. It was a very fantastic experience. We were working on a software which Westlaw was developing, and they had outsourced it to this Indian company. A very interesting job. I have also interned in law firms in Calcutta. Yes, I had to skip my attendance as well for that. But it was because, in those areas, you do not have a concept of internships. This concept of internship is more in national universities, national or your universities. In small universities, you do not have this concept. So, but I used to always wanted to know what actually you do when you pass out, become a lawyer, what practices are there, what areas are there. So over a period of time, that is how my career has flourished. I've been to different cities, worked at different places, known different people, worked in different culture. And life has been a very wonderful book in terms of personal experiences as well as professional ones.
My mother always says that those who struggle get success, and I think you've struggled a lot, and the result is before you only. You're working at a top tier one firm. That's a dream for everyone. Even that's my dream, to get a job at SAM. So, after this, the end of these 5 years journey. But sir, one thing which I would like to ask you, that nowadays, whenever you open LinkedIn or whenever you talk to a law student, finding an internship in a good firm or a tier one or tier two, tier three law firms, that's very difficult nowadays. Or maybe you can say that people always say that we are not from NLU, so we won't get good internships. So what would you say regarding that, and how many internships you did, when you were a law student, and how did it help you?
Yes, internships does help. It really helps. It gives you an ignition to know what exactly you would want to do after you have passed out. I did internships, like I said, in LPOs, and I did internship in litigation law firms. There was not much corporate. So corporate thing is not much there. You have basically litigation law firms around. It is true that if you say I'm not from NLU, I will be having difficulties, and that's a fact. But that is a fact only with top tier law firms. I would suggest, and I have always been talking to different students of different colleges, be it national university colleges or tier 2, tier 3 colleges in different states. The idea is you don't have to let yourself down by thinking that if you're not an NLU student, you will not get internships. It really makes no sense, because if you find there are a number of partners in top law firms who were not from NLUs. So NLU is something which I wouldn't say it's a recent, but it is not that old a process and institution. So people were there from non-NLU backgrounds. I have done my LLM from National University Jodhpur, but primarily my LLB is not from a national university. If you have a target in your mind and you set yourself accordingly, you can achieve that. It is just that, first of all, you have to discipline your life. If you discipline your life and you have a set goal, you will reach there, irrespective whether you are an NLU student or any tier 3 law institution student. Makes no difference. People have joined small time law firms and they have grown such a bit that they have reached top tier law firms. So that is also a possibility. But I find a lot of impatience in students nowadays. They are very impatient. If I am not able to crack a top tier law firm, it really makes no sense to do a law or to get a law degree. But I think that impatience arises from the amount of fees people pay in nowadays law institutions. Give me a second. I wouldn't say that is the only reason, but that is one of the major reasons, because you have spent your hard-earned parents' money, and then if you do not crack a good package job, it's a pressure. For me, there was no such pressure. I paid 100 rupees per month in my university, and I used to work throughout. I have also taught in institutes which used to prepare students for CLAT. So I had been from class 10. I used to I had started giving tuitions to students. So for me, it was not a tension key. If I do not crack in a top, then what will happen to the amount of already money I've spent for my parents' money I've already spent? That was not there. So that is one of the reasons. And the other reason is impatience. You don't have to be impatient. No one became a top person overnight. You know, even Bill Gates had to struggle. Even Steve Jobs had to struggle. If you have read his book, then only they have able to, you know, understood the value of being there.
So, like you said that internships are very important, and like, you know, if you're not getting tier 1 or tier 2 internships, at least just apply for tier 3, right? In a way, you are trying to motivate those who don't get, you know, selected over those firms. But sir, what would you suggest to those like who are in batch of who were in batch of 2020 or who are going to be a batch of 2021? They're very, you know, worried about, because the pandemic came all of a sudden. No doubt the pandemic came with a lot of trauma, a lot of tragedies for some. So is there any kind of advice for the batch of 2021 or new law graduates, would-be law graduates? Because they say that they're going to face a lot of difficulties getting jobs in the law field. So what would you say to them? Is there any kind of advice for them?
First of all, I would say, do not think yourself being a lawyer as a job material. If you start from day one thinking that I have to have a job, then you have already lost the battle. Given the situation, what is presently prevailing in India and elsewhere, the COVID situation, and this is a very novel situation. This is something which none of our parents' generations, leave ourselves, have faced such a situation. So this is very novel, and no one can suggest anything about it. No one can advise anything about it. It is just that it's such a challenge and you have to accept it. But if you start thinking that I have to get a job, you have lost the battle there. Why can't a lawyer think, which a lawyer should be thinking, can they start their own practice, be it how small it is? Can they start their own practice? Nowadays, there are so many opportunities so far as the social, professional, and the networks are concerned. Why don't we start exploring those? Or if there are situations which is going to be bad for another year or so, why don't you start looking for extra education from an academic line? Like, you can have different courses. There is so many line of courses available. You know, you have courses from IBBI, you have courses from ICSI, ICAI. There are various institutes which are giving you courses on insolvency laws, which is the best thing to do nowadays. And then you have on IPR. There are so many courses. So you can devote time there. And you can always start thinking that why can't I start something of my own? If you think about jobs, job will always be a problem. You know, you have to create value for yourself. If you start thinking that I have to join a place which has value, then what about you? Then you would say it applies to you also, sir. Why you're working in a top tier law firm? See, I have gone through the phase of a butterfly. I've gone through that phase. So it may not apply to me. But being a lawyer who is just passing out at this situation, which is very critical, if you think about job, you will end, in desperation. And that will not help you. You can sit back and think about what else you can do. If there is no job opportunity, if you crack one, you're a very lucky person. And don't think about only one thing, that I have to get into a law firm or a top tier law firm or a corporate firm or a litigation firm. I'm not going to go for in-house. I'm not going to settle for a small law firm. Don't think about that. If you have value in you, you will rise. I have switched from litigation to in-house and then law firm. From litigation background to litigation and corporate to corporate. So this can happen for anyone. And I'm not a very, very intelligent guy. I'm a very normal, average person. So I think that should answer the question.
Yes, sir. Really appreciating the fact that you actually motivated them, because they were always asked to get a job after those 5 years. Because everyone would say that you've, done a degree for 5 years, and after that, if you don't have anything in your hand, that's a kind of insult for people nowadays. So that's actually good to know that, you know, there are a lot of options nowadays. If you don't get a job at a firm, then start practicing at your own, right? So that's a good advice, I must say. But to be on a more informal note now, we're going to play some rapid fire. I'm going to ask you some questions and you'll just answer it, okay? You have to answer it very, you know, all of a sudden.
I'll try.
Not to think about it, you need not to Google it, you just need to answer that. And okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So the first question for you is, was there any professor in your college who used to cut your attendance even if you don't do anything?
No. I had
No?
good relation with all the professors. In schools also, I had good relation with my teachers. So,
Okay.
not that I
that's
was
good
very
to know.
intelligent, but I really had, you know, a good cordial, you know, chat and talk with them. So no problem.
But what about the percentage of yours, like the percentage of attendance?
Initially, it was not that good, but the final year I had, you know, around 89, 90%, more than 90%, because I stayed there. Initially, because I had to always travel in the morning
Okay.
and then back in the evening. That was difficult. But in the final year, it was fantastic.
But what about the percentage of yours, like CGP or percentage? Was that good or like?
No, so in my university, in my department, I think I was 4th or 5th. So that was good.
And you're still not happy?
No, I'm more than happy. I never expected that.
Okay. 4th or 5th, right? You are saying it like, okay, I actually worked it like this. But you know, being in that top list is a dream for everyone, and you're actually able to do that. That's good. But just tell me one thing: the worst experience of yours during any kind of internship.
Worst experience.
The worst one.
So there were situations where we were required to get hold of orders from courts. You know, after the court hours, it becomes very difficult to get it from the registrar's office. And whenever you return empty-handed, your seniors used to. So those are, for example, you know, in securitization, you have to take a physical possession or a symbolic possession. We went for a physical possession. And before, you know, entering into the plot, we came to know that there is a pregnant lady. So I was hot blood because I had just joined and I wanted to, I had done a lot of things wrong happens. We will be in a mess. So I was very frustrated. I had a lot of argument with him, but then now I did realize there also that, you know, that is what a seasoned person does. It's not only about, you know, straight jacket answer or straight jacket formula. You have to also realize what is happening at the spot.
Sir, another question.
Then there was a situation you won't realize. You will be very happy to, or it will be very interesting for you. When we used to go to CJM's court for taking Section 14 orders, there were situations where we used to explain the judge what the Surrogacy Act is all about, because though it was new, but even the judges were, you know, then we used to take out time, sit in their chambers, explain them what securitization is. Of course, also the police people, but that was a very fantastic part of it.
That would be a best experience. But sir, is there any experience of yours, like the worst punishment you got during your school days? You still remember
Sorry?
it? Your school mein, what was the worst punishment you got?
I was absent on a day when there was report card being distributed because of my health issues. And the next day when I went, I was suspended for a day. And I got a general remark, which I never got.
You were suspended for a day, right?
So I was in a school, in Don Bosco school. They are really, really very strict. I don't know whether you've heard about those chain of schools. It's a very strict school. So I was suspended for a day and I got a general remark, which I never got in my life in my school.
But you know,
that was a very
scariest part is like, you actually don't get scared when you get suspended. But the thing is, ghar jaake daan padegi. That was the actually thing that scared me during my school days. Like, even if something happens in the school that doesn't bother you, but that's, you know, you get very scared when you know, like, oh my God, Papa ko pata lagega, Mama ko pata lagega. That's the worst part. So was there any situation with you, like you did something in school and then you were like, oh shit, ghar jaake pata lag jayega?
नहीं, स्कूल जाके पता लगा. So during my class 11 days, I used to do a lot of inter-school festival, those dramas and skits and everything. Who is still in touch with me is a fantastic person, Shantanu Bondapadhyay. And he said, your son is not here. He's taking part in fests. So when I got back home, I heard I got too much scolding for the day. I still can't forget it.
Yeah, because school days scare of your parents. And that's the worst thing which happens with everyone during school days. But so what about the college days? Did something happen with you? Like any sort of drama in college days? Like you actually remember it till now?
No, not with the teachers or professors, but amongst ourselves with seniors and classmates. But that was handled well. There was no problem at all.
Okay, so you said that you never wanted to be a lawyer, or, so like, if not lawyer.
No, I never thought of becoming a lawyer.
You never thought of becoming a lawyer, okay. But still, like, if not this profession, that what other sort of profession you would have gone for?
I really don't know. Because, I was that person who had no clue what to do in life. Honestly speaking. So I wanted to do science, but my father persuaded me to do commerce in class 11, 12, because that time you have to choose whether you want to go for science or commerce. I really had got good marks in science, and I wanted to pursue science, especially chemistry. But my father persuaded me to do commerce and then BCom. He wanted me to become a chartered accountant, but I had no interest in becoming a chartered accountant because everyone around me was becoming a chartered accountant. So I had no clue what to become. So my father is a lawyer. He used to take me to hearings before the sales tax officers. He's a taxation practitioner. So even that never interested me. So I was a person with no clue what to do. And there was no one to guide also. Generally you have someone a cousin who is elder to you, he can guide you, but it was never with me. So whatever my father said, I did. My father said, why don't you go and give this exam? I did it. And it happened. It clicked and I'm happy.
This actually happened with me as well. After, 10th board exam, I had to choose a stream. So I asked my parents that I want to go for art stream because I was always inclined towards that. But my grandfather didn't agree for that because he said, no, go for non-medical or both, even medical and non-medical. But I said that, no, I just want to go for arts. So like he was very angry. He used not to, he never actually, after that, I think for almost a year, he was very depressed. He was very worried about me. Like, what will I do after taking arts and all that? I said like, no, now the times have changed. Now arts is also very important. So I took arts. So like, okay, when I was in my 12th board exam, so I gave my board exams. Then I became a state topper because I worked so hard to prove my grandfather that I actually study a lot and arts is a good subject. Then I became a state topper in art stream. I scored 98% in 12 board exams. So then he got that confidence, no, she can do. So after that, another decision that what I have to do after 12. So I told him that I want to go for law. So he said, why law? I said like, I have an interest over that and I want to go. So like, law is something which actually fascinates me and I actually wanted to do that. And I, like when I was in 11th class, I started preparing for CLAT also. He was not aware of that thing. He said, no, don't go for arts. Just do BA, just go for UPSC and all that. I was like, okay, that's a good idea, but we can do that after BLLB as well. Then I told him that BLLB is for, 5 years. He said, oh my God, just, you are going for law and just, doing it for 5 years. He was so scared. Then I had to convince him. Then he was like, okay, go for law because if you have made your mind. So like, I have an opposite kind of experience, just like you have. Like my parents were with me, but my other family members were not with me. So that was an individual decision of me. And that is why I'm trying so hard to prove him every day that law is something which is not only, confined to classrooms or courtrooms, that there's more to do.
Correct.
Yeah. So with this, the rapid fire round is we are done with the questions. But sir, on a more formal note, I would ask you one thing, that you are working in a tier 1 law firm, right? So everyone wants to go there. Everyone wants to have a job offer from that firm. Everyone wants to go for an internship over that firm. So can you please tell us, like, what's the procedure for, applying for an internship or getting a job offer? How should one proceed with that?
So in tier one law firms, things are very organized. In other law firms, maybe you'll write directly to the partners, but here you have to write to the HR team. They will process your resume, and then you'll get called for appropriate. You'll be having options where which kind of work you would want to do, and then given the availability of or requirement in a particular team, you will be asked to join on a particular date. Of course, you have to mention which dates you would want to start your internship. And post completion of internship, there is a option where when your feedback form is filled up by the concerned associate or a senior associate or a principal associate under whom you have worked a lot in a particular team, so he or she will give a recommendation whether they would want to have you again with them or it's just fine. So in case there's a recommendation, then in that case you come again. In other scenarios, there is a option where they can give you a pre-placement offer as well. So of course that is a very later stage, because in our law firm they start giving internships to people who are from third year in 5-year law course, and I think second year for 3-year law course LLB. So that is how it works. It is just that you have to have a good relationship. You have to work well. And I think after you have had one internship with us, and you have developed a good relation with the concerned associate, senior associate, PA, and you have worked well, then you can of course directly get in touch with them, and they may also help you get second internship with them. So that is how it works.
Sir, I think after getting to know about the procedure and, like you said, the relationship with the associates, I think the students might have this question, like, does networking help when these things comes into picture? Networking as in...
I didn't get you.
Yeah. Networking as in if you have good contacts with the lawyers or like those who are working in a firm, can they help you get an internship over that place?
See, contacts help you everywhere. It helps in your in your colleges. It helps in your universities. It helps everywhere. Even when you are done with your law, you're in a law firm, then contacts with your clients help you. So contacts is something which helps you everywhere. Of course, it helps in getting internships as well.
Sir, you said that you need to send your resume to the HR. Just within a minute or so, can you please tell us what kind of CV does tier 1 law firms look for? What things should be reflected in your resume if you are applying for exam?
Your marks in exams are important, and you have interned. In case you have interned in other places as well before applying here, then where have you interned and what kind of work you have done there? You have to mention that. Of course, you're aware of it. If you have worked in a law firm previously applying to this law firm, then what kind of work you have done? What was your role in that work? How crisp but detailed manner in which you can put that in that 1 or 1.5 or 2-page document which you'll be sending across to the HR team. Basically, this two things generally things are very important. Then yes, if you are from a national law university. But if you have these two things, which is very strong, then no matter what university you belong to, it makes no difference.
But what if
plus
what all your
hobbies are? What is your objective in life? These are other second stage items, And in case you have written articles for your universities or other universities, you have participated in competitions. These things are also something which is very important to get you through, at least to get you through tier 1 and tier 2 internships.
But what about the students who are not from NLU, just like me? What about them?
I said that. I answered that. I said, if in case you are not from NLU, then you have to work a lot on these things. Like you have to write articles, So articles does not mean you have to have a 5 or 10 page article. It can be a 2-page article also. It just needs to have that material which reflects what your thought or perception is about that particular subject, and your knowledge, your outlook about that particular subject or topic. So, and whether you have got it published somewhere, a decent place to publish, be it Mondac or any other place. And if you have held good positions in various, there are various committees nowadays in universities. So what position you were in? Have you been public speaking in your university or someplace else? Participation in different competitions. So this is something. So there are problems where you think about starting internships only in tier 1 law firms, then there is a problem. Because you have to start somewhere. I have seen people who, with the thought of doing only internships in top tier law firms, ended up doing internships nowhere. So no matter how big or small it is, you first take your first step. You might get contacts from there. You might be in a tier 4 law firm internship, and there you might get a contact for tier 1. Who knows? If you have to reach there, you will reach there.
Yes, sir. Because I think that what happens nowadays is people start, applying for internships directly to tier 1 firms, even if they have not done internships at tier 3 or tier 2. So that's very important for them to start interning, maybe from tier 3, then go to tier 2. And obviously you make good connections with the associate, then they might recommend you for tier 1 as well. So that's a good sort of good advice. And with this, we wrap up the whole session. So thank you so much, sir. It was a nice session with you. And you actually enlightened us with your words. You actually motivated us to do something. Because after actually listening to your struggle, the sort of struggle you did being a non-LNU student, and right now you are working in a tier 1 firm, which is actually a dream for everyone. Even I have this dream that after these 5 years, I want a job offer from SAM. So that's actually good to know that you're working over there and you're always available. You're always there to reply to students. Thank you so much, sir. And I think I'll mention the LinkedIn account of yours. So students who want to get in touch with you, they can directly text you over there. They can be in contact with you. They can actually talk to you if they have any doubts, if they just want to know something about the career as well. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing your time with us.
I would like to add one line here, if it can be of help. It doesn't matter whether you're working in a tier 1 law firm or not. What matters is what you're doing. That is important. Whatever you're doing, if that satisfies you or helps in your growth in knowledge, then that works out for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me with you and giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts and experiences.
Thank you so much
glad
for
to be
accepting our invitation. You actually agreed on a very short span of time. Thank you so much, sir.